she them, pin them, I see them. Hello guys, hello. I see a few people on. If you can hear and see me, just say hi. Hello Benjamin. Benjamin, where are you joining from? Hello Eccles. Welcome Benjamin. How is Niger? Eccles, how is Ghana? Yeah. So the plan today is just to interact and answer a few people's questions, and also, like I said, I'll be bringing Mr. Augustine on board. He's somebody that at least I've met and interacted with since I've been here, so that all the questions that you guys have, you can get real life experience, people talking about it for you to learn from, instead of just theories. I spoke to him and he's on standby. If any of you want to just come up, just let me know. Let's interact whilst we wait for Augustine. Uh, how's the weather in Ghana and Nigeria? Yeah, okay, Benjamin. So what I'll do is I'll drop my email. We can just link up. Okay, welcome, guys. Hello. Who else is on? Please, those joining, let me know. And whilst we are waiting for Mr. Augustine, you can just be dropping your questions also in the chat if you have any of them. Okay, this is more of a we'll just be here for between 30 to an hour. And basically, like I said, the whole idea will be just to engage each other and also bring somebody on board. Let me see whether Augustine is ready. Mr. Augustine,
Yeah, Alpha.
this conversation is long due. How's life?
Life is good. You are making all the money. We are chasing after you to make some as well.
We'll see you. Don't come and remove your motors here, like how we say in Ghana. Are you good to go?
Just give me 1 minute. I can't
Okay.
see the video, so just give me 1 minute. I'll be once you see me.
Hmm. Hello guys. Who else is on? Let me hear and see you guys. Okay, let me get this one done. Whilst we wait for one or two people to come on board. Hello guys, those joining, let me know where you joining from. Yeah. August, are you good
Okay.
now?
Yes, I'm good. I'm okay.
Mm. See you now. Welcome. So, Augustine, this conversation is long due. So, like I said, there is more of a celebration of my just 15,000 people on my YouTube channel, and you
Ooh.
know, you know what I believe in. I believe in real life experiences and all that. So instead of just coming on and just talking about theories, I felt it would be good to just bring you on board. You know the conversations that we've had over the last 2 years, where we both went on different paths, but we both arrived
Mhm.
at the same destination. You
Uh-huh.
understand?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I told you that at some point we will come on and some of the conversations that we've had behind closed doors, have them on camera,
Right.
so that others too can learn from. I always
Right.
say you are that outlier. And funny enough, today is exactly 2 years since
Oh
we met.
yeah. 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 True. 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 True.
Today is exactly 2 years. So I'll just start with you just introducing yourself. Then we can just pick it up from there.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Evans. How time flies. Yeah. I was thinking, okay, yeah, 2 years. So okay, yeah. I was thinking, okay, so that makes sense. So my name is Augustine. I'm from Nigeria, the giant of Africa. The country where all Ghanaians always look forward to and live in a very interesting way. You know, they use our music, they use our slang, they follow events in Nigeria, but at the same time, they act like Nigerian. You know,
Eh,
yeah. So now. So
okay.
I've been in Canada for 2 years now. I worked in Nigeria for about 7 years before coming to Canada. Just a normal guy, you know, just a normal guy picking the crumbs, not making as much money, multiple income like Evans is.
Eh,
But it's been a journey, I would say. You know, Evans had a soft landing. Like he came in from Ghana big boy, brought in
eh.
shitloads of money, you know.
August,
Uh-huh.
still on topic. So
Cruise
yeah,
through
so
it. Go on.
yeah, so 2 years, exactly 2 years ago today, I think that's when we connected. When I remember when somebody shared that LinkedIn post that you posted on your page. I didn't even know we were going to meet in person. So I'll just start with this question. So what was actually the inspiration? Because when you were coming in, you were very green to just traveling. So what was the expectation when you were first coming to Canada?
Okay, okay, that makes sense. When you said 2 years, so I was wrapping in my head like 2 years. So it will be 2 years when we met physically in Canada, but it was already 2 years because we met online before coming and connected, right? Um, so I think for me, it was my first travel experience. And um, actually, the game plan that I had was that I was going to quit my job and I was going to come to Canada and find a remote project management or business analysis job that will pay me at least as much, and I will use that to support myself. I had paid my tuition, thankfully, fully, but I had come in with a plan that, when I land, I will get a remote role in Canada, and then I'll use that to continue my lifestyle. The remote role hasn't happened even 2 years after, you know, and it turned out to be more difficult, actually 10 times more difficult than I could have envisaged. It turns out even more difficult than if I were going to compare it to Nigeria, for example, because fresh out of school, I had two jobs waiting for me in Nigeria, right? So I didn't have to look for employment even before NYSC. So it was pretty, yeah, I applied quite to a number of roles, but it happened still quickly. But again, maybe also because it took me a while to realize that, okay, it may not be a green collar environment like where you're coming from, like Lagos, where you're coming from, and then make some adjustments. But it was a totally different experience from what I had expected. It was a world of
Yeah,
difference.
yeah, but now you manage to maneuver from studying from that period to now being a senior financial analyst at Loblo, one of the biggest companies. So I would say, looking back, just before you came in, if there's one advice that you give anybody else coming in, what would that advice be?
Oof, there will be lots, right? Because, like Evans, there are no rules to this journey. There are broad guidelines, but there are no rules. So I'll be careful to say, oh, this is one stray bullet with which you would get your Canada journey correctly. Because hey, my plan also was premised on the fact that I had seen one or two persons who were my own friends who came in and 2 3 months before they were done with school. It was an 8 months program. I was even doing a 1 year program. 8 months program, 5 months in Canada. They landed a six-figure role, remote role, work from home, even as a student. So they were doing part-time at the time to be converted to full-time after school. So that was exactly what I thought the reality was. My reality turned out to be different. So, but having said that, if I would give an experience generally, I would say be open-minded. And I think that would be a very good advice to give. Just be open-minded. Understand that the journey can be different for different people depending on their specific context, depending on where they land, depending on the community they have, depending on the opportunities available in the city where they land, depending even on the type of the time of the year they land, whether winter or spring or so. I would just say be open-minded, be flexible.
Yeah. So which means from what you are saying, research is something that's very important. It's one thing that I stress with most people, that try and do your research and plan before you land.
Yeah, I would say research, but it can be too different, right? Research helps, but yeah, I would say research because again, I've seen someone who was sharing with me an experience. I can't remember what specifics now, but it was almost as if they knew that the place where they were landing, these were the kind of opportunities that were available there, and they prepared for it. As opposed to me that was landing in Winnipeg and prepared for opportunities that at best might be available in Toronto, right? So I'll say research also helps. Yeah.
So that means location is important, not just move, but you have to move strategically.
Yeah, I would say that's actually also very key. So again, I think one thing that, like I mentioned, when I was coming in, I wanted to be a project manager or business analyst. Um, and when I landed in Winnipeg, it took it actually took 18 months to fully accept the the reality of the environment that I was in. And I would say if I would look back, even though I was a bit rigid initially, but if I would look back and make the decision that I made that made me got the role that I am in now, if I made that decision maybe 2 months after landing in Winnipeg, I probably have been better off, right? Um, but again, I think the problem I also had was I was perceiving it like I was perceiving that there was a mismatch between what I was looking for and what it looks like the city offers. But it took 18 months of me just realizing that what, I did IT project management business analysis in Lagos, but I have a master's degree in accounting and I was a chartered accountant. So if I'm not finding something in project management, How about going back to accounting? I could always do it even when you wake me up for sleep. And that was exactly what worked out. If I had reached that decision, made that conclusion way earlier, I'd probably be better off for it. So I would say yes, research is good. This location where you land and the opportunities available is also critical, very important.
Mm. But in terms of transitioning from student to professional career, what would you say like were some of the challenges?
I wouldn't say there is any challenge when you eventually transition, like when you actually get the job, especially if you've had experience in corporate work environment. They're pretty much the same. I worked in a multinational in Lagos, in Nigeria. So it's pretty much the same corporate exposure. And that was really, I've always been very big on that kind of environment. Corporate exposure, structures, and, working with very organized, structured people, not MSME type or one man business kind of environment. So I'd say in terms of adapting to the environment isn't difficult, but in terms of actually landing the role can be pretty tricky. It's even a lot more tricky lately because of the recession or no recession that we've been trajectory recession or no recession trajectory that we've been on for about 18 months now. Nobody really knows what's happening. So there are unemployment is going up. So it's a little bit more tricky, but I would say get adapting to the role is not difficult, but getting the role can be difficult sometimes.
Mm. So, which is from what you are saying, at least the studying part is the difficult part, especially if you are somebody who is a professional. The moment you transition from there, it's like there's exponential growth.
Yeah. You basically you just walk in and just because honestly, if I look at normally in the jobs that I have done, even in the smaller jobs before now, even in the small scale businesses, there were some kind of structured training, structured learning.
Mm.
But in my current role right now, yeah, there were trainings here and there, but it wasn't structured, but it was more like just do it kind of thing, right? But I still survived because I mean I had some background in accounting, and so yeah, I think you're right. Coping is adjusting to the environment is not difficult, but landing the roles are difficult. Can be difficult sometimes.
Oh, okay. So, as a student, how do you what would you, how do you manage to balance studies with job search and also adapting to the life in Canada in general?
Um, as a student adapting to the life and job search, I'd say for me, I think because I had quite a lot of time in my hand, even though yeah, there were like pressure from school, but I also can do a lot quite efficiently, right? So job search wasn't difficult. Getting the interviews, even for me, wasn't too difficult. But landing the role was the difficult part because, and I say sometimes when people say, "Oh, I haven't," and I'm not saying it's a rule, I'm just sharing my experience. So people say, "Oh, I've not landed the role, I've not landed the role, I've not landed the role." And I'm like, okay, how many applications have you put out? And they're like, maybe 100. In fact, sometimes when I read in the news that people are finding job, they are looking for work, they are not finding. They say, oh, yeah, I've applied to 100 roles in the past 3 months. Hey, I applied for at least 2,000 roles in this journey.
Ah,
I
two.
can still, I can still show you, I can still show you my Indeed. Anyway, I deleted Indeed because I was started to get a lot of spam text. But on Indeed alone, I was still applied to 1,500, right? The role that I have now, I have applied there at least 11 times. It was the 11th application that got me. So it's a mess for me. Some people, their journey is different, faster, quicker. I was working all along. It wasn't like I wasn't working. Like I mean, there will always be work. And that's also one thing you need to know about Canada. There will always be work. But what kind of work are you looking for? And what kind of work are there? They are two different things. So I was always working, but in my head, it's still like I wasn't working. But the funny thing is, these are people's job. People are on those roads that I was on. People have been there. People retired there. At some point, it wasn't even minimum wage job, but in my head, it wasn't still like work because I knew what I was looking for. But so there will always be those, right? So for me, I would say applying for the jobs is not difficult. You just need to, again, there is whole debate about tailoring, adjusting your resume. Those works as well. But for somebody who applied to 2,000 roles, yes, maybe I'll say in those 2,000, I got maybe 4 offers, but at least one is the one that I'll really say this is like an offer that is very aligned to where I was in Nigeria. So how am I supposed to know what works after applying to 2,000 jobs, right? So as I just do, the debate is out. So applying for a job is not difficult. Getting the roles can be difficult, but just stay the course, everything will be fine. Again, like I mentioned before, the biggest thing for me is just being open-minded and be ready to adjust when you have to. Again, maybe having a community can help, but I've also realized, and that's one thing I'm very careful not to do in this talk. People often generalize based on their experience. And they say, okay, when I landed in Winnipeg 20 years ago, there was no office job if you are there, you couldn't find an office job if you are black. So we had to take construction work. So let me take you to these construction sites so that you go and start from there. Oh, I started out with care. So people just give you those formula, but without knowing that there were also people fresh black like them landed in the same location, landed on 6-figure roles. Those exist. Maybe they are fine between. So community people will generally want to try to give you a rule, but like I said, there are no rules. Just be open-minded, be flexible, and you will be fine.
Wow. But 2,000 jobs. So what did you learn from applying to those 2,000 jobs? What
To be
works? At
honest,
least
to be
just to
honest,
advise somebody else who is taking that journey. So I either have to also do 2,000 before they land that one.
I think tailoring your resume, being very deliberate and being very niche would seem to work. So one of the things I'm doing right now, but if you come into a new country, you need to pay your bill. You need to, keep body and soul together. You need to pay rent. Maybe you wouldn't have that luxury of time. But what I've seen to work consistently is if you really have time to say, okay, I'm a project manager, number one. My project management experience is in IT, number two. So if I see construction project manager, I'm not going to apply. My IT project management experience is in insurance. So if I see manufacturing, unless I go to the JD and see that okay, they are open to having somebody like me, I won't apply. So I'm just looking for insurance. And of course, being flexible. Because if you're in Winnipeg and you say it's only insurance, then it means that you have only 4 companies to apply for at the very maximum. So, but just being very deliberate, knowing who you are, knowing the location where you are and the opportunities that are available, and having very targeted approach to your job search would work. Always look at the job, like all those things they taught us in class now. Target the jobs. Targeting would work if you are looking. In fact, you would have to target, it appears, if you're looking for career type roles. When I went back to look at the resume that I applied, I submitted to this my role, I actually had targeted the role unknown to me because, of course, I had applied 11 times to the same company. So all I needed to do was to just log in. I didn't even need to remember my password. My system has already been set to remember the password. But unknown to me that I actually did copy the JD and just changed the some of the words. Maybe it took me 5 minutes because I did it's as supposed to, like, there are two roles I want to apply to right now that I have sent on my, I mean, obviously, you know, I've sent to my somewhere that I'm going to spend time to target. So even though I didn't really target the way you would like spend 1 hour to come up with a tailored resume, I still targeted, even though it was quick. So I'll say that as well, just being deliberate, being niche, and just focus on those specific niche can work for you. But if you're looking for, like, even when you are looking for survival jobs, they are still looking out for people that have the experiences they are looking for. If you are looking for a cleaner and you say you are a carpenter on your resume, oh, carpenter is even far off. If you are looking for, what's the closest thing to a cleaner? What's the closest thing to a cleaner? Gateman. Let me use gateman as an example. If you are looking for a cleaner job and you say you are a gateman, they will still not hire you. Because even though in your head, oh, I'm a gateman now, I can clean as well. But you have not put there on your resume that you're a cleaner. They will still not hire
Yeah.
you. You know. So just that niche, being very niche in your approaches is what I will also advise.
So for you, where would you say uh, the penny drop when it comes to job search? So I think at some point the penny will drop for you where you realize, okay, this is what I need to do when it comes to job search to get that job that I actually want. When at what
When you
point
say,
would you say?
sorry, when you say the penny drop, what do you mean?
I mean, so sometimes when you come in, you are trying to hit your head against the wall, but it gets to a point where you hit one place and like, okay, so this is how I need to hit this to get it done. So like we were talking about uh adapting and all customizing the resume and all that, even with interviews and all that. So how at what point did you realize, okay, this is how I need to change things for me to be successful when it comes to job search?
So, to be honest, I think it, for me, it would be so. I think it would be 6 months ago. I would say. And here is the thing, and I think for me, what really affected me was the environment, the city where I land.
Mm,
I would say it's also not even me because again, I also have a friend who eventually now has landed into a management training program with TD Banks, who took more than a year to land that role. She even did masters in engineering management. We work together in Nigeria. She's pretty good. She has a first class in civil engineering. So in my head, I'm like, and those were some of the things that kept me going. I will come back to your question. Those are some of the things that kept me going. That if I doubt myself, I know this person and I know this person is good, but we are suffering this thing together. So it's not me. It's not personal. It's not me. It's just that there is something in this system that we are struggling with that time would show. Eventually, she landed very good role. I think she'll probably be on 6 figure. So when I look back, it was a bit of the environment, but at the same time, I also don't think it wasn't a bit of. I also don't think it was just the environment alone. So for me, it was that moment where I had done 9 project management interviews and I had not got any offer. And I sat and I looked at it to say, what is if we a project manager in a non I mean, a project manager here, let's say in Canada, would need to work with different people to coordinate things. You
yeah,
will be working with project sponsor, leadership, subordinates, contemporaries. So you are the heart of the organization. You will be on people's face. So is there a chance that there may, and I may be wrong, but that was just my own analysis. Is there a chance that there might be some unwitting wanting to hire people that sound a certain way, people that look a certain way, so that the person who is hiring is sure that they will be able to work with everybody, involved. But again, this is just a thesis because I also know project managers who are exactly like me, right? But for me, that was that moment. I'm like, okay, but if I'm an accountant, I don't need to be in the middle of the room. I just need to be on my desk, deliver my job.
Yeah.
Nothing is at stake. Give me the piece of the work. I deliver it. I'm not talking to anybody. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to focus on accounting for now. And I think that was like, 6 months ago. For me, that was the moment. But again, um, doesn't mean that that is necessarily the rule, right? But generally, just speaking for me specifically, that was the moment where I made that switch to say, because again, if I and I was also telling other people as well that in this city, I think it's going to take a while, especially if you're looking for things like IT project management, right? But if you're looking for construction work, even accounting roles, um, supply chain, even HR, those are like on the fly, right? So that would be it for me.
So basically, what you are saying is different cities have different kind of jobs that they offers. So there are some cities where it's more construction focused. So if you are somebody who is into construction and you go there, it will be easier for you compared to somebody who is not. And
Absolutely.
if you take a city like Winnipeg, it's more of a supply chain kind of city where things people are moving through. So business are moving through here. So if you are a supply chain, if you land in Winnipeg, things might be much easier for you compared to, let's say, somebody who is an accountant, because all the big accounting jobs might be in Toronto. Is that what you're trying to say?
Correct. Correct.
Hmm. So, not to take too much of your time. So, guys, if you have questions, just drop it in the comment section. And if you want to come up, just let me know. So, I'll bring you up to ask him questions. Let's take your so somebody comes to you right now, says, I've gotten my visa. Um, I've gotten my visa and I'm coming to Canada to come and study. Advise me. What kind of advice are you going to give that person? At least to
Yeah.
be successful.
Um. Honestly, again, I would say reach out, be flexible, be open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
For me, those would be it. Reach out, but in reaching out, also be careful because you are you, right? And I am me. Everybody, we are different. Our journeys are different. But reach out. But don't know who you are. But again, that's why it's not this advice is difficult because you can still do know who you are and hunger will beat you and you will take 11 months to find work. you know. So because some people will also read know who you are to me, I'm not gonna do those minimum wage jobs. That's not necessarily you'll be shocked that it is through those paths that you will land your big role. I've seen people who went into companies to do minimum wage. 1 year down the line, they are big orgas in those organizations, earning big salary. I've seen it countless times. So I'm just saying, be flexible. It is still you, but at the same time, don't don't follow any rule per se,
So
but
you are
be
saying humble
you. Just
yourself.
eh?
You are saying humble yourself? Is that what you are saying?
Exactly,
Hum,
exactly. Humble
humble.
yourself. Humble yourself. Reach out to people. Reach out to as many people as you can. Get perspectives. No, to be honest, and I hate to say this, but maybe only 20% or even 10% of the people will find role that are commensurate to where they were in their country.
Hmm.
Even Canadians don't come in at those levels. There are many Canadians here who want those big level, big influence kind of role that you're looking for. So so why you, right? But that doesn't mean it's not possible, right? But it's just that space where realize that you can be as big Also realize that you can be as humble, not small. I wouldn't want to use that word, right? If you come in, if you get the big role, fine. If you come in, what is clear though is that within a very short while, the system has a way of matching your qualifications and your experience eventually. If you don't derail yourself completely, you can take those entry level roles, you can take those cleaning jobs, you can take those care jobs, but be careful not to derail yourself in such a way that you now cannot even qualify to those jobs you will ordinarily want because you've derailed completely. But as long as you don't
Mm.
do that, keep the pace. The system has a way of matching your energy and matching your qualifications eventually.
But how important is Canadian work experience? At least from
To
your
be honest,
experience and the interviews
to be
that you've been
honest,
to.
I don't think, and I would differ from most people. I don't think it's that important. It is still important, but I've seen different kinds of people land roles. I've seen countless people land roles, six-figure roles, even the project manager role that I couldn't land. I've seen people land it without Canadian experience. But here is the
Yeah.
difference. When I was deciding to go look in accounting, I did some research to check who were the people that were landing project management, product manager, business analysis roles. Um, and I found, and I'll use 3 examples. I found an interesting thing. There's a company, it will probably be a multi-million valued company in Nigeria. They call it, oh shit, what's this? Gokada. They raised a bunch of
Mm.
loads of money. They raised a lot of money. They were doing logistics and they were doing ride hailing. Um, and then they ran into some problems with the government of Lagos State. The founder of that company, if you Google Gokada, you will see their trajectory, you see their traction. They raised money, they were a company. The founder of Gokada is I think is a product manager in this Canada. Me, I haven't founded. I founded a few things, but nobody knows about them yet, right? So if I'm being honest with myself, am I at this level? At least in terms of result, maybe in terms of potential, yes. But in terms of result, he's got result. I've not got his result, right? I'm not. Another person that landed a product manager role lately that I also saw had worked in the UK for years. He worked with Accenture. He worked with, I think, one of the big four. He had an MBA. Okay, and he's had like 15, 20 years experience, 10 of them in the UK. So I'm like, okay, if I go to an interview, even if Nami they hire, if I go to an interview and I see that guy and I see myself, I will not hire myself, I'll hire that guy. Again, it's not about
Mm.
potential, it's about results. They have the
Yeah.
result. I don't, right? So I wouldn't say it's Canadian. And another thing that just coming to this life, one thing I was thinking about is we forget that I think the literacy rate in Canada is one of the highest in the world. And Canada has one of the highest number of graduates in the world. I think it's even number one in terms of people with at least a bachelor's degree. And why not? Because for the past 25 years, the immigration system has been based on education, right? So you have masters, you have more points. You have bachelors, you have more points. So you are important. I'm not saying you are not important. Of course, I am important. But hey, this is you're coming to a market that has the best of the best in it. So just know, yes, we are all best in this, best in that, but there is best in this, best in that, that is everywhere here. So just understand that fact. Um, but sometimes it's not so much about Canadian experience, it's about results and provable
Yeah.
results. When I attend an interview and I'm wrapping up, when I attend an interview and those guys attend an interview, they're going to Google this. You don't even need introduction to know who Accenture is, right? And if
Yeah.
they Google Gokada and they say, oh, this guy built this fantastic product, they raised $500 million, and then there's just Augustine, whose name will probably not show up. So I think it's more about the results than about Canadian experience. And the Canadian experience would look like what they are looking for because they can relate. If you say you work for their company, they can relate with the company. They probably have someone that worked there. They can verify those proofs, right? But from Ghana, from Nigeria, they may not be able to verify. So I'll say it's really about the result and the ease with which they can validate your level of experience.
Oh, so that means when it comes to the menial jobs, those ones, it really doesn't matter. It's easy to get in. But the step higher, at that point, they are looking for results. So they are asking themselves, what can you do when we get you into this job? It's not just about the certificates that you hold and all that. They actually want to see the results that you can bring to the table. And sometimes having those results from back home at least goes a long way to help you because it's something that they can relate to. They know that if you've done it here before, you can actually do it here. Is that right?
Correct. Correct. And they want to be able to prove, they want to be able to like independently verify those proofs. That's also one thing I'm
Yeah.
learning.
And the funny thing is, they actually verify because for me, all the jobs that I got, funny enough, they called back home to talk to somebody and say,
You
okay, did this person actually work for you? How did the menial jobs they might not care, but when you get to that level where they feel that okay, this person is getting into management, they will actually go and verify.
absolutely.
So let's talk about money. So, for somebody coming in, how much money should that person have in their pockets? Me personally, I tell people that at least put enough money in your pocket where if you don't work the first 3 months, you can survive. I've met people who came in with $50, somebody who came in with $100 in their pockets, and everybody and their story. But what will you tell somebody to put in their pockets when they are coming? How much do you think they should put in their pockets?
Put what you have. Put what you, put what you have. Put what you have in your pocket and be ready to deal with the consequences.
So
Um,
are you saying that somebody putting 1,000 in their pocket and somebody putting 10,000 in their pocket are going to have the same experience?
no, they are not going to have the same experience. But the person coming with 1,000 knows that he probably has to land the job as soon as he lands here because he probably will be able to afford, if he stays in a shared apartment, he probably will be able to, not in Toronto, not in BC. If he stays in a shared apartment in like Nova Scotia, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, he can pay, that's 2 months' rent. No grocery, no phone bill, right?
Mm.
So just know that you are sitting on is it on a keg of gunpowder if you have 1,000. But I was generally say that
Keg of comfort.
I
Let
generally
me
say
say,
that they would say 20,000, but I think honestly 20,000 is a lot of stretch. If you are not coming to just come and hold your hands, even 10,000 would go a long way. But obviously, you know that at the point when you're applying for the visa, you've got to have whatever it is they say you should have, right? But realistically, I think anything between 5,000 to 10,000 will take you through the initial days. As long as you're meticulous, you don't, and you know, Evans, before I met you eventually, you know that the guy that, and that's why when I was talking about meeting people and listening into the guy that picked me up from the airport will have kept me in his basement and be collecting 1,100 a month from me. When
uh-huh.
I look back, honestly, that guy is a criminal. And that's my Nigerian person,
But he gave you
you know.
KFC.
Looking back, the KFC was a marketing from his marketing budget. because because if he had succeeded to keep me in his basement, in 6 months, he will have finished my proof of funds at 1,100. And honestly, looking back, that house is not worth even $700. Guess what? I ran into the guy that left there, and when he was telling me his experience, I think that was some of the things. I don't know if it was after I had left, but so that's the thing. If you know, so is there are no rules like I keep saying, right? But just have some money with you. It would help. Another thing, and this is not directly related to how much you should have. If you can, make sure that in the city where you are landing, you have at least one direct connection. Friends, brothers, sisters, friends of friends that really mean well and that care about you. It goes a long way.
because
In
they
addition
won't do
to,
you damage. Because they won't do you damage. Like what the guy tried to do to you. At least
but
if
they
you
get
have
there
a
are,
direct connection.
yeah, people that you can say will look out for your interest. Yes, at least that's the assumption.
Mm. I always tell you that we had different experiences, even though funny enough we came in the same time. Me when I was coming in, I said I don't want to meet anybody, even people who were trying to introduce me to people. I'm like, nah. But I realized later that it was important you have those connections because the first 1 month, those people were key. One in finding accommodation, job, and setting myself up and all that, instead of going through the stress. So I think, like you are saying, so the connection is important, but the right connection. Because if you meet the wrong person too, they can also dupe you and empty your pockets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there are a lot of them.
If you have any question, just drop it in the comment section, or you can just hit me up and I'll let you come up and ask me questions. We just about 10 minutes and we are done. Okay. And outside that one, so now the person has money in their pockets and they've landed. The first 1 month, which is very key. What advice are you going to give that person to set himself up for success?
First 1 month, first as soon as you land, get your SIN. I mean, those are like normal. You see it everywhere, right? Get your SIN. Um, Set up your phone. Go for the most affordable plan that you can have. Evans is one of the source where he's making multiple streams of income. If you have a need, he can also give you recommendation.
I bet today is about you.
So set up a good phone, affordable phone plan. Open your bank account. Hopefully you have a place to stay in those first months and you're not incurring money for Airbnb or hotel because that can also be a drain, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I would say those would be the important things to do in the first month of landing.
Mm. And in terms of finding that first job, what would be the advice? We went through this debate. Now you've gone through it. What would be the advice for somebody who is coming a professional looking for that first job? Should that person go the route where you came in and you were focused on getting that candidate, the job that you had back home? Or that person should lower himself and say, okay, I need to pay bills. So let me find something to hold me down as I'm getting to what I'm looking for.
So I will answer the question broadly. Depends on how you're coming. Now, if you're coming as a student and you have $40,000 in your account, or you have a working wife back at home who can support you, and you're not thinking about money, honestly, I would say it helps, but it's risky. But it helps to just focus and say either this or nothing. And I've seen people that I worked for. Unfortunately, if those people will appear on this life, they won't tell you that their spouse were working full time. And so they had a working spouse and they
Yeah.
could afford to take that 1 year to look for senior project manager role. So those are the reasons why you also will be careful with advices. But for those kind of people, I've seen it work for people like that, where they are not under pressure. It's either this or nothing, and they stick to it, and it works for them. But if you're like me, that came in on my own, first person
Mm.
in my family to make that kind of journey. At least if there was anybody in my family, I don't think they care enough about me to provide any leverage. So not necessarily that my family may not have probably traveled abroad, but I'm just saying in my head I'm the first person because there is no leverage anybody's providing to me, right?
Yeah.
So if you're like me and you need to earn, I would say please just take anything. But Evans, eventually I also did anything differently. I did different things, and it was funny enough. Some of my body. So today I woke up and I just remembered that I had some pains at different points of my joints. that were a function of those hustle. And they've all disappeared one after the other. I used to have my wrist, this, I don't know what they call it, used to hurt because, and
Yeah.
I'll share some of those funny experiences. When I was working in a bread factory and I used to stack trays. So in stacking trays, you get to move your ribs a lot like this. There was a time like my ribs were hurting. I discovered it's gone. There was a time I used
Yeah.
to wear one heavy uh, uh, um,
Boots.
safety boot, and it was a strain on my. I've always had like knee issues for a very long time, but because of those consistent strains, those pains came back. Anyway, enough of that. So if you're like me, I would say find anything. But in finding anything, actually, you, I just don't think I have the temperament for care. But I think care would be one of those places where you don't have to use your body too much, but at the same time you would make enough to live by. Um, to find anything, don't be choosy, but don't get into trouble, because I stayed away from care because I yelled at my supervisor once in the factory. So if I go to care and I yelled at him not because of him, it was just because of me and my head, like things that I was carrying in my heart and in my head. So that's why I stayed away from care, because I don't want to get onto the foray of, oh, you shouted at somebody, now he has his mental health issue has compounded, you know. So, but don't be, know yourself and just find anything if you know you don't have a lot of money.
Mm. Okay. Just to this will be my last question. Just to give people an idea. Now we always say that people see the successes, they don't see the hard work behind the scenes. Most times they don't see the other jobs that you did before you landed where you want to. If you are comfortable, is it possible you can you told people your background from Nigeria? Just an idea of some of the jobs that you have to go through to at least get to where you are. That's if you are comfortable.
No, of course, why not? It's not a big deal. It has nothing on me, right? So
Yeah,
coming from Nigeria, I was a chartered accountant. Um,
yeah,
it would be the CPA equivalent, Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. I was two papers short of finishing my SCCA. I had my
yeah,
PMP. I had a master's degree in accounting from the University of Lagos, and obviously I have a bachelor's degree because you need to have a master's. I mean, a bachelor's to have a master's, right? I think I have about 5, 6 different project management certifications: Scrum Master, Scrum Product Owner, Lean Six Sigma, Green Belt, Yellow Belt, Black Belt. I had everything. It was pam, 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 pam. And so from the airport, even Trudeau will know that one professional has entered Canada and we give him project manager role. Anyways, with all of those, I didn't have to do it. Funny enough, the $6,000 USD that I came in with after paying my tuition fully, I still have it till now. So it's not like I was under pressure, but I also knew that it won't take too long before $6,000, about 8,000 Canadian dollar will be done, right? So I didn't want to wait until they were done. So I got in and I just found anything. I think the first week I worked with an outsourcing agency, and they were mostly specialized in labor work. So you had to use your body. And they were finding me the easiest of their jobs. And so that took me to work in recycling, where like damaged cars, they will put them in a machine. The machine will compress the car, squeeze it, like squeeze the car and separate the parts. So my job was, we'll stay in one cubicle. It would, like the name implies, recycling. So those picking metal will pick metal, those picking copper will pick copper and all of that. So I did that. And then I worked as well in bread factory where I stacked trays. In fact, they offered me a permanent role in the bread factory, but I was still a student and I couldn't take it. I worked in a bread factory for long as well. I did a bit of construction. So I followed the people that construct. So when they destroy is it rehab they call them? So when they want to do rehabilitation, when they destroy the
mm,
things they want to destroy, we'll pack it into the trailer. like labor support, sort of. I did
Yeah.
that. What else did I do? I was everywhere. I didn't do
Flower,
care because
flower.
oh, I sold flour. I know flour is your favorite. And before getting, and that's the point. And before getting the flour roll, I literally had to say that, you know what? I've been selling flour since I was born. I love
Yeah.
flour. Like I used to
And
plant flour.
there was call center.
Oh yeah, I did call center as well. I did call center as well. And it's
So,
funny. Go on.
mm, so basically, what I'm getting is that every the path to success is not just straight line. You just go through some places.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So there's one question that somebody is asking here. He's saying that is it possible to work to pay your tuition fee?
It's not possible. Let's not waste our time. It's not possible. Let's not. I won't bother to go into the details. You can check with Evans, but I can tell you it's not possible.
So basically, even if it's going to be possible, you will sacrifice your body.
You can't do it. It's not possible because you will do something that is illegal. If you work as a student, you will find minimum wage or minimum wage plus $2 for
Hmm.
24 hours, effective September. Gone are the days where you could work full time. That policy has ended. So how do you want to make? You won't make more than 1,000 after tax in a month. How do you want to pay 18,000 at the minimum or 14,000? So
So basically,
and
go ahead.
yeah, and people. I've read that, for example, that international students, especially in Ontario, a lot of international students die while they are international students, especially people from India. Some of these
Mm.
advice may be the reason. I worked in minus 35. If I had a condition, I could have died. Right? I didn't have to
Mm.
do it. It's not like I needed to pay tuition. But if I needed to pay tuition, it meant I didn't have a choice. So I had to do it. So I'm not going to
Yeah.
give somebody an advice that will kill them. It's not just possible, please. Look for something else. Like, but if you insist, I mean, it's individual. But for me, oh, I would not tell anybody that it's possible.
Mm.
But if you don't have a
Because
choice and you have to jackpot, there will be ways around it, which we can't get into here, you know. But
so
on the surface of
if
it,
I get you right, if I legally it won't be possible.
it won't be
Anybody who
possible.
do it have to at least either abuse their study permit rules or do something that is illegal. Because the legal way to do it, you end up breaking your body down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Because I try to use calculation to even tell people. And I always tell people that just do a simple calculation on your own and see. You realize that it will be difficult to get that one done. Okay, I don't think there's much questions. So before we go, just your last advice or things that you want to tell people. At least you have a few people here watching us who might want to at least learn one or two things. So what would be the last advice that you want to give people?
All right. And just to add to the last point, right? What we also don't know, what we also don't appreciate is Canada money is sweet. Abroad money is sweet, but they don't share it like it's not there. You would funny enough, people earn much. People earn 300,000, not anyhow people. Like when people grow in their career, they become director, senior director. People are earning 200,000, CEOs, they are earning much, but it
Mm.
takes a while, right? So, but when you land as an immigrant, you are not going to find this the kobo. You'll be counting hour and be counting kobo. I'm thankful that I don't have to count hour because honestly, when I work in the days when I used to count hours, a week, 40 hours, my like so. Anyways, let's not deviate. So those
Now
are
you
the
can
things.
sleep. Now you can
No,
sleep and go and sit in the park.
yeah, because African money is easy to make. Like I don't know whether I think the job those of us that come here, the jobs we're doing in Africa were really very good roles. Wherein you are doing more of strategy, making things happen. You are not counting hour. You are sitting on salary, leave allowance. Some people even have official car. Even at my level, so you know, honestly, anyway, let's say it's a different topic entirely, because sometimes people also make the mistake of thinking, oh, once you're in Canada, then you are better off than Nigeria or Ghana. It's not really so. It depends on what you're looking for, and that's a different series entirely, right? Um,
Yeah.
you know, but generally, I would say if you want to come, know your why, and that ties to the point around. It's not true that once you are in Canada, you are better off than somebody in Ghana, right? It is now that I can say that by all yardstick, I'm better off where I am right now compared to where I was 2 years ago in Nigeria. It is just now that I
Mm.
can say that. And I
After
know
two
for a
years.
fact, yes, after 2 years. And I know for a fact by next year, I will be probably 3 times more better. It cumulates, right? But if you ask me honestly, and all through the journey, I wasn't sure if this was a right move, because there was no metrics that will compare to where I was in Nigeria. So I'll just say, be open-minded, know your why, align with your why, stay the journey, be prayerful as well if you believe in faith, right? And it would. But one thing is sure though, if you stay the course, it ultimately gets better. That one is a formula. It eventually gets better.
Okay. So, Augustine, thank you for your time. I don't think anybody has any question. And I just
Uh,
wanted to, I think, yeah. You have anything to
got
say?
you. No, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no. I'm saying, yeah, thank you too.
I see you on the road. Hopefully, we will link up. And
Yeah, yeah,
guys,
yeah, sure.
thank you for joining us today. Hopefully, you learned a thing or two from Augustine. So we got to meet again. See you guys.
Yeah, bye.